It's always been. It's starting.
You have to explain it to me. I know. I know. I make you that horny.
Just around
the recording's already started, you know, just throwing it out there.
Did it? Awesome.
Yeah, we're that's the first bit of information they're getting.
Okay.
Alright, cool, so.
I got the notification now.
Yep, so that means I can turn my volume down on my phone.
YouTube.
Alright, so. Now the thing is that we have this set on being about 15 seconds off. So, what the hell, dude?
I'm watching us.
This is what we get from Jesse.
Hey, he's not a bad guy. So the second this pops up, hey, just because I say you're not a bad guy doesn't mean you aren't, you know. I'm not going to sit here and play double standard judgment on you. Okay, so here we go. So you ready? So.
Oh, so Kyle, how do I get the other part up quick?
What do you mean the other part up?
Like, how do you separate screen them?
How you second screen them?
Yeah.
On it. Right there. Pop chat out.
It's just like it's like this took it.
Okay.
It's just fine.
Are we ready?
I'm getting there quick. Let's go with let's try shrinking down just a little. Alright, set, and then we're gonna go with this. And good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, and thank you for joining us once again, the Modern Sisters of Gaming. I'm Kaiju K, and with me here is Roadblock Bond.
Yep.
Necro Nick.
What up?
And of course, King Kiru.
Hello.
And as you can see, we're using a new recording software. This is actually the recording software. It's called Game Show. We tried it the other day. We tried it a little while ago and was able to run really smoothly. So we're going to see if we can't run it. Now, besides Roadblock wearing his Game Theorist shirt in the background, show that off if you want, man.
Yeah,
And King Kiru trying really hard not to just go off and kill somebody. We're ready to start the episode off with a very strange one. Hello, thanks for joining us, everyone. Necro, I think you missed a few things like the way of spelling.
Yeah, I do that.
Welcome.
Welcome. How art thou used? Yes. Oh man. So let me just make sure that the chat's up and everything like that. Hello, chats. Hello, everybody. Oh, come on!
Oh, God.
Step is off food.
Woo. So as you can see, I can change a couple things. I can alter how things look on the screen. I can take some gamma away. I can put it up. I'm just trying to switch around to try and get the chat to look a little better. So anyway, tonight, folks, we're going to be dealing with a different type of subject tonight. Hey, Jess, how you doing, man?
Hello.
Want to add more to the conversation?
We have our own conversation. You tell them what's going on.
Tonight, we're going to make an attempt at talking about a conversation which is going to be either very, very funny or very, very terrifying, depending on how you look at it. So I'm having too much fun with the software. I'm sorry. Just
Not you, him.
oh, what's he doing in the background that I'm not watching about?
I think he became too. Ah!
Well, he shot you, so that's for starters.
Start. Show off right. Can't find it. Oh. Wait a second. Shoot you again.
Wow, look at that! I'm really screwing with this. All right. So, anyways, thank you for joining us, everybody. Tonight's topic is going to be one of relative terror, And relative terror, I mean, I'm pretty sure we're all going to have a snap fest about this. But we're going to be talking about the world of Resident Evil and where it could go wrong and where it could go right if it were to happen in the real world. Now, for those of you who don't know what Resident Evil is, and honestly, I don't know who you'd be if you don't know what Resident Evil is. Resident Evil is a survival horror game that involves multiple people having to deal with zombies. Yes, Jesse, I can see you. Multiple people having to deal with, well, a zombie outbreak, I guess is the best way to talk about it. And it wouldn't exactly be the same way as, say, what is that? What was that show that they had on where they were freaking, they weren't zombies, they were walkers?
Walking Dead.
The Walking Dead?
Yeah.
It's not like The Walking Dead, which, you know, honestly, if you ask me, I thought that show sucked. I don't know if anyone else did, but the true to life story is that Resident Evil is a very strange, very awkward, very... What would you say? What would you say would Resident Evil be, in your opinion, as far as a zombie world goes?
Fucked up.
Yeah, I guess that's a pretty good way of putting it. The real...
Extreme.
Extreme, okay, that works. My biggest issue with the Resident Evil world is the fact that it's like, it's a world with cell phones. Why did no one know this was happening? Why did no one know there was a zombie outbreak? Why did no one in the world seem to know that there was a nuke dropped in the middle of a city?
Because they're too busy looking on
their
YouTube.
phones.
Yeah, you know.
That would be something that they'd be looking up!
They're too busy watching videos like this.
Trump did it. Trump did it.
Are you trying...
Simpsons did it.
Simpsons did it.
Are you trying to claim that we are the Simpsons?
Well, I mean, when you really want to get into it, you know, isn't everything The Simpsons?
Not really. So anyways, my idea is, you know, we look at the game and the world of Resident Evil and try to figure out where exactly it would change if we were in such a situation.
No, we're talking about the game, right?
We're talking about the game, not the movie. The movie was just horrible.
That's some bad news for you guys.
What?
I only played one game.
That's all you need to play. We're only talking about Resident Evil.
Play the director's cut, that counts.
That's the same game.
Well, first thing that Kira would do is shoot Nick.
Yeah, apparently shooting Necro is the first thing he's gonna do.
Definitely.
So
I don't want him trying to eat me.
More than one way.
Oh, and there it goes.
Multiple ways.
There it goes. Anyways, trying to jump the subject again because I had to change the background because it was screwing with our text box there. As we all know, the world of Resident Evil kind of works into the fact that you started off in a helicopter on some kind of secret mission whatsoever. Helicopter gets shot down. You're in the middle of the field being chased. I really wish you guys could see the look on freaking King Kiru's face. He's like actioning out his running and everything. And then eventually you end up in a mansion. And apparently his boobs are bouncing or something. I don't know. Anyway, so from this point on, the Resident Evil game gets really bizarre really fast with Scooby-Doo-itis kicking in. Which is, let's split up, gang! So first things first.
Scooby, you come with me.
First things first, splitting up, not gonna happen. You're a trained military unit. You would check every room in group.
Oh, yeah.
You would clear every freaking corner. You'd clear every alleyway.
I agree and disagree.
I'm urban ops. That's what we did.
Depending on how big the group is. Say you got a group of 20, I'd split up into two.
Well, yeah, but I'm talking. Well, in the Resident Evil, I think they had 3 or 4. I think that's what it ended up with. I think it was Jill, Barry, Wesker, and some other dude that gets killed.
Jill could come with me. You guys could go with, each other. And we'll meet up with you later.
You're not,
if you guys hear screaming, it's okay.
Unfortunately, you're not Jill's type.
I don't care, because she will be my type when I knock her out.
Because, well, already King Kiru is claiming that he's a rapist, so you have that to go with.
Rapist willing.
Listen, I'm convinced that
it's not willing
Kiru...
if they're knocked out.
Listen,
they can't say no.
Kiru...
Just because they don't say no doesn't mean it isn't consentful.
She don't remember.
Kiru's the most polite rapist.
The polite rapist? He just talked about clubbing her unconscious and raping her.
Listen, but
let's split up, gang.
He seems like the type of guy that would just be like, listen, I want...
Hang on, Brandon. Hang on, I can cut you off here. Well, obviously you're that small that she won't remember you.
Wow, you're gonna get shot for that one, really. So, when you start off the game, so here's how I picture it. Instead of it being Jill and Barry and what's his name and Wesker, what if it was us four? I mean, what would be...
You guys can have Nick. I'm going by myself.
I'm not going to have Nick at all. Screw that.
Nick, why are you always singled out?
Oh, I thought you were meaning sexually. No,
I mean like... whatever floats your boat.
Hey, man, the last time you told us to split up, you talked about raping somebody. I'm just making sure we're on the same page, all right? Because so far this episode has consisted of 5 times of me calling you a rapist already.
Can I be like the guard at the door?
Sure, be the guard at the door.
Because I don't want to be around you guys.
Well, that's actually where the first...
This is where I would feel bad. Because, like, say a zombie came out of nowhere and bit one of you guys, I don't want to have to shoot you. I will! Don't get me wrong. I'll shoot the fuck out of you.
Yeah, but the guard at the door is the one who gets killed first.
You think I'm going to get killed first?
Well, that's what happened to the guy that was sitting by the door.
Well, I'm not the guy sitting by the door. 2 different mindsets here, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm smarter than
Ex-infantry, dumbass. The first thing you do is you move in a group. You don't sit there and go, I'm going to be by myself.
Dumbass! I know what I'm doing.
Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is shoot him and take his gun because he's already a waste of time.
Okay, this
So, moving on from there.
Waste of time. At least I can shoot a gun unlike that one.
You can shoot one. It's close quarters combat. If he misses at that point, you shoot him and take his gun.
Did you ever take him shoot?
Yes.
And you didn't cock the gun wrong?
It's close quarters combat, man. So,
I've shot many guns, Jesse.
the big issue that comes with Resident Evil is the fact that the zombies aren't exactly stealthy. They don't hide in a bush and come at you. All you suddenly hear is, and they come lurching towards you at half the speed of smell. Now, in the game, your abilities to fight back involve shooting them or slashing them weakly with a knife.
Right.
In all reality, a quick boot to the chest is probably going to give you a bit more room.
Yeah, but you're not, unlike the game, you're not going to sit there and go, I'm going to go across the gut. And it's just like, no, you're going to go for the neck or you're going to go for the back of the head.
Right, well, that's what I'm talking about. You know, things that would differ because of game logic versus reality. A slow-moving guy coming at me going, is not really a threatening target.
That's Frankenstein.
That's also the zombies from Resident Evil. Yeah. Come on, man, you played the game, you know this.
Yeah, but they're a lot. Some of them are faster though.
That's not until later on in the game. Those are the Crimson Heads, and even they're not that threatening.
I thought we were just talking about the game in general, not like parts of the game.
We are talking about the game in general. If we're talking about us existing in the game in general, we're playing by the rules of the game. So there's still the traps, like that room that's going to crush you, which really doesn't make much sense. Hey, Gopher Boy, what's going on back there?
Don't look.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. You just got up out of nowhere.
The biggest threat, I think in the original Resident Evil, I think the biggest threat until they opened up the lab was like the dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, there was the lickers came in part 2, didn't they? So I mean, you don't even have to worry about them. The dogs were only fast, so I mean, but they're still just dogs.
Yeah, but you remember that part in the first game where you're going down that long hallway with all the windows set up and shit? And you're like, you're not expecting anything, and then when on the way back, if you're not paying attention, you just see the dog just crash right through the fucking window.
Well, right.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean, but like, other than that, the zombies aren't really a large threat, and once again, whereas the game's issue is you have a gun or a weak knife, in reality, you'd hit him with a chair. I'd pick up one of those random chairs and just bash at the zombie with a chair. No need to waste ammo on something that can't fight back. Just jab them a few times, it's over.
Also, wait a minute. Didn't like half of those like armored statues like were carrying like point weapons and shit? Like
yeah,
and
like freaking halberds and shit.
Grab one of them.
Or how about, I got an idea. Why not just put on one of those suits of armor? Human jaws not really powerful enough to go through plate mail.
I don't think I can fit all this in the
suit of armor. Me and him might have an issue.
Well, then you guys have an issue. Don't worry. Just send me in first.
We just put the gauntlets on and just agree.
throw Nick in the armor and have him run into a room. When the zombies tackle him, just walk over and beat the zombies to death.
When they're not paying attention, speak up.
You ever I know you haven't played, but in Resident Evil 5, you can unlock a costume for the main girl you're supposed to move with. It's a solid suit of armor. And what you do is you have her walk into the middle of somewhere with this armor, and you tell her to sit there, and then you run away. And all the guys will try and pick her up, and they all fall down, and they can't get back up because they're idiots. But then you run over with a knife, and you start slashing the shit out of them. And when they start getting back up, you run away again. They try to pick her up again, they fall down again, you go and do it. It's one of the quickest and cheapest ways of fighting. And since it's canon in Resident Evil, then guess what? It's going to work in Resident Evil 1.
Yep.
Then they get into the now the other problem. Then you get into the bio-research lab, where they release the hunters, the predators, the big reptile things with big claws.
Oh yeah.
Who are just really big bullet sponges.
just see one just looking at Tokash, and it's about the same size too, and they're just looking eye to eye to each other with Akiro's just like.
But
it roars
no.
it roars at him. He just roar back. The thing goes running down the hallway.
No, you do it, Wookie. Game on.
You see it start running. It trips and it just gets thrown back, and it's like clawing. No!
Who's videotaping this monster fest?
Just rips its arms off and begins beating it with its own arms.
More or less, I think me and the monster would shake hands and just go about our way.
The biggest threats in that entire game were Nemesis. Oh, no, he wasn't.
No,
Nemesis.
he was in the second one.
Tyrant.
Tyrant, who's trapped in a freaking basement somewhere. And by the way, I don't know about you guys, but I'm not exactly going to be exploring the entire mansion.
Which, mind you, he doesn't even come out until the end.
His jerking off arm is huge, and he has like these long fucking nails.
I mean, to be honest with you, the second I found the shotgun and the grenade launcher, that's pretty much the point where I just started saying, guys, grab weapons, we're out of here.
Yeah.
Then just start heading back to the city. That's it. That's the difference. You see, that's where...
You want to solve this problem quick? Hey, we got the weapons, now let's get the
Once we
fuck
get
out.
back to the city, call an artillery strike on the building.
Just like the Rock from the Doom movie, you know, once Kyle gets that grenade launcher and fires off the first round. It's like, that's it, guys. We've won the war.
You ever fire a grenade launcher? You feel like you've won the war.
I haven't fired any...
It's a great feeling.
Shot a
Oh.
gun.
No, I never shot a gun. I've only ever handled edge weapons.
We gotta do a live feed of him shooting a gun.
Oh, we don't want to
Here,
do
take this.
No, no.
I'm down for it.
They'll just charge you in the house.
Shoot that way because it's a cement wall, or a brick wall right after here.
But now the biggest, like I said, the biggest thing about Resident Evil is that, and then there's a giant snake named, I think they called it Hiss or Whisper or Silent or something like that, some big old snake. And then there's a giant spider, which of course would be Nick's biggest bait. He would just see it and he would just run. He's eating peach rings or something like that. But
You're just hearing the smacking.
One of two things is going on.
yeah,
He's either eating-
no.
Or it's something he shouldn't be doing on camera.
Yeah, well, I'm watching him from here, and he's not doing that part.
Hopefully.
So seriously though, I mean, Resident Evil's not a really difficult game if you think about it from a way of an intelligent point of view.
Right.
From a military standpoint, the location would be found, weapons would be gained, and I'd leave out. That would be basically it. Move in a group, find more firepower, and when you feel sufficiently ready, walk out the front door, gunning down everything in sight, get to base, call an artillery strike, and blow the place to hell. That's all you need to do.
Listen, it's one of those situations where if I'm a guy like me, okay, and I just happen to be stuck there with like an ex-military man and a redneck, you know, I'm already set. As long as my
He's kind of right. He is kind of right.
I'm like,
Jesse,
I
I
am
found
not
a shotgun.
screwed in this-
Here you go.
I am not screwed in this situation. All I gotta do is just find whatever
I'll take
big
the
guns-
Magnum. We're good. Let's go do this.
Here, Tokash, you take the shotgun. You take the Magnum. I got the little pea shooter because that's all I can handle.
Here, you get this.
I got the little mini.
Let's do this shit.
Okay, let's go.
Oh, and don't be one of those idiots who does the whole dual wielding thing.
Yeah, please don't try that.
No, I
Every time I see that in a movie,
Yeah, I don't trust
it
them.
makes me literally want to vomit. It's so stupid.
Oh, you give me that.
You know what? I don't even trust you with a fake gun. You know,
It's like I missed 3 shots and then Tokash just slowly
have a
comes
Nerf
over
gun.
here. I'm taking that from you. You're on timeout.
Here, have a Nerf gun.
Have a Nerf gun.
time
Take this.
out.
I mean, you won't do much. You'll piss them off. But, you know,
At
get their
least you-
attention. Get their attention.
At
That's all
least
we
you're
need.
not gonna shoot one of us by accident, or if you do, it's not gonna hurt.
I'm gonna dance across them and I'm gonna make foul gestures at them and say stuff about their mothers.
You know what? I can kind of see him doing that.
Her mom's a fat whore.
And that's exactly why we need someone like him. You know, you always need that one guy who's the comic relief because you know he's gonna die.
I'm gonna die first.
What's that thing about Nick though? Like, where's he gonna be at? What's he gonna do?
Well, let's
Nick looks like the
If he
badger mole
survives.
from
Well,
Avatar: The Last Airbender.
I don't want to be the one that says it, but in 4 months he's guaranteed to win. Okay? Because let's face facts. We have the ex-military guy. He's probably the second to last to go. He's always the one that does the heroic, "I'll stand behind you guys, run off" kind of guy. Then we got the crazy jackass who's going to go and do something completely insane to kill 90% of them. But unfortunately, he'll end up dying in the process.
Fuck it.
Brandon's already dead because he's the comical relief.
I'm already dead.
And Nick's 4 months away from being the V. who always survives a horror movie. So he's the only one guaranteed to win.
He's premature firing.
Fire it.
You guys are having more fun with the Nerf guns than the actual conversation.
Well, no, because we're imagining, look.
Yeah,
Listen.
we're playing it off. What we're gonna do?
Okay, so you guys are gonna rush the mansion with Nerf guns. Gotcha.
Well, we can't.
I'm thinking.
Do you want me to bring out my real gun on camera? I'll do it.
Wouldn't be the first time we brought a real gun on camera. Whoa!
Wrong gun.
No, we're just imagining I'm just coming in all badass. All right, let's go.
And then he just gets
shooting
eaten.
planks. Shooting planks.
I'm shooting planks.
I'm just sitting there going, I forgot to give him the ammo. Yo, roadblock! And he just gets mauled.
Yeah,
Shut up!
It's Kyle's just like, oh,
He turns around and he goes, he turns around and he goes, and you're like, and Robo's like, dying.
And I'm just like, you son of a...
And she's like, I just pick up one of the slots of my vest, just put it in.
It's just like,
Y'all
okay, Tokash, new plan.
While the dogs are distracted, we run.
And then Jesse has to make a smart-ass remark just being like, hey, that means we don't have to worry about the dogs for about, like, a couple weeks.
Oh.
Damn, I think I saw one of them kick him so hard, poor Chop fell out of his ass.
Oh! Man, a sensu beam won't heal that wound.
Okay.
What about
Fuck all you.
Okay.
Well, what about your feelings on the Silent Hill games? Do you feel that the Silent Hill games are?
Played any.
Oh, jeez, Jesse.
Well,
Wasn't into it.
most of the enemies in that game kind of like a
I was in
reflection
racing
of
games
whatever
mostly.
the
What do you want me to do?
main antagonist,
Well, yes,
like Psyche was.
right. So I mean, you know, you got to think about it. It's like the only thing that seems to be the reoccurring
So
factor.
let's ask a question. If Kira was in Silent Hill, what would be the enemies that would be the reflection of his psyche? What would they look like? Because I'm betting on the
So we
nurses
did have
with the
to-
large fucking chucks with the knife.
So we did have two comments so far.
Okay.
Metal Reese said hi. So hello,
hello,
Metal Reese.
And Jazz.
Where are you pulling these from?
Yes,
Ass?
yes, Jazz. We are discussing the Resident Evil games. Now, unfortunately, King Kiru hasn't played anything past the first one, so everything past here is just going to be his opinion on certain things.
What if, like, what will we change? Instead of going off, like, you know how you're saying, like, we have to go off the rules of the game?
Well, okay, then what would you change?
But, like,
Everything.
what about, like, what would you do given the situation? Not like, oh, we actually have to, you know...
Well, okay, if we're going by the situation, grab everyone together, keep them in a group, search the place until I find a stockade enough of weapons and armor, and make a walk out.
But, realistically, with our attributes, what would we do?
Well, that's...
Yes, you have military background. He doesn't.
I know. And you don't listen to orders anyway.
I don't listen to orders. I'll
Exactly.
just go do whatever I want to do.
Exactly.
If I feel I need to stick with you, I'll stick with you. If I'm going to be like, hey, you guys go ahead, I'll go into this room, then, you know, I'm going to this room. If you hear screaming, it's probably not me dying, it's probably me killing something that I'm enjoying.
Or it could be you dying.
One or the other.
Well, you see, that's where the algorithm is very slow moving. You can easily outwalk them. They don't seem to have much in the intelligence factors. They tend to just walk forward blind.
For me is Resident Evil, ABD, Dark Side Chronicles.
And it's Resident Evil. First of all, that's Resident Evil 5 and Dark Side Chronicles.
Oh.
I have to agree. I like Codename Veronica myself. That's probably my favorite, other than Nemesis. And the worst was anything past 5.
Yeah.
5, 6, Dark Chronicles, the shoot off. That was the rail shooter. Those all sucked.
And then,
Those were horrible.
And then 7, God, what the hell happened to that fucking piece of shit?
I don't even believe that 7 exists. I believe that was just something people posted online. Because at that point in time, there was just no coming back from it. 7 looked like Silent Hill met the Hillbillies from Deliverance.
Yeah.
In fact, it had a lot to do with the Hillbillies in Deliverance, except instead of trying to sodomize somebody, they were trying to kill them. So,
I have a different opinion about 7, but I'll save that for later.
no, give your opinion now.
Yeah, dude.
Okay. I think it was one of the better Resident Evil.
Oh, why?
Listen to me, okay?
Well, lay it on us.
At least from an atmospheric point of view, okay, it still had that dark undertone, and it was set in like this kind of goth.
It was Silent Hill.
Listen, it was set in this goth rural like bayou place, all right, like extremely creepy, you know. Not to mention one of the bosses that you actually fight. You know, anyway, spoilers in case you didn't play the game. All right, was the what was it? The lady,
the mother,
who transformed, like she transforms into like this big fucking like bug, this spider-like thing, and she has like this messed up fucking abdomen. You know,
no, she has a messed up vagina where bugs come out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but
all right,
the thing
but
is,
she crawls around the fucking floors.
My babies.
And what you're doing is you're going through this like small little attic, all right, and you're just crawling along, all right, and you don't know what the fuck to expect, all right, because you hear her crawling around, you hear something, all right, and you think like, okay, I'm gonna show up in the big fucking space and then she's gonna get me. No, she comes at you from the fucking window and tries to drag your ass out, you know, to try and fucking, you know, scratch the shit out of you, and then you gotta like fucking.
But
it's awesome.
This really didn't explain why you thought it was one of the better of the games.
No, that's
you
what I'm
like
saying.
being chased by a long-limbed woman with a messed up stomach?
No,
Is that
but that's
you're
what I'm saying. It surprises you though. Like
Yeah, but that doesn't make the game. Like,
and it does
it's-
leave you on your toes like a normal horror game would do.
The scares in Resident Evil 7 were basically the same scares you'd get by playing Silent Hill.
Yeah.
Very few enemies, very large, very misty locations where it was trouble seeing, around dark corners and such. And you were very, very strict on how much ammunition you could get. There's very few places you could go.
If you're basing 7 as a Resident Evil, you gotta base it off of the first Resident Evil. And let's say facts, the first Resident Evil wasn't dark undertone. It was very lit up.
Actually,
Well,
that was very bright, but you still got the
mansion was
scares.
completely lit up. But you
Well, that's
still
what I'm
got the
saying.
scares.
Since I never played it, from what I'm gathering is that it's making it seem darker than it really needs to be.
Well, that was the big thing with it.
But like, yeah, I understand that zombies are.
They weren't zombies.
Creatures.
They weren't zombies. They did a separate different thing.
Yeah.
They did something with like this black moss monsters.
Like I said, it wasn't Resident Evil. It was like Silent Hill. The people were talked to by some. Well, I think it turned out to be some kind of like disease or something that took over their minds and turned them into basically things out of H.R. Geiger.
Kyle, is the stream still going?
It should be. Why?
Because I mean, it's going on mine, but Jared said stream stopped? Question mark.
Let me see here. No, it's still running as far as I can tell.
And then Jazz put
The worst villain is Derek Simmons. I don't like the character. Resident Evil 7 isn't a bad game, but I missed hunters, zombies, and other biological weapons. Well, yeah, that's what I was about to say. The big problem is that once they hit Resident Evil 4, they decided zombies weren't there anymore, so we're just going to throw different things at you. So in 4, in Resident Evil 4, they turned out to be people possessed by an alien plant life. And in Resident Evil 5, they were possessed by that. And then in Resident Evil 6, they went back to the zombies, but now there was like 12 different viruses that were transforming people. And then in Resident Evil 7, they went down to the bayous and basically prayed to Cthulhu.
See, then 6 sounds to me more like the other ones. If
6 was a good attempt at going back, but it still sucked.
But Resident Evil is based off zombie characters. They should have never changed it.
Well, right, the viruses and the biological weapons and everything, and that's what a lot of people said. A lot of people said that Resident Evil 7 seemed like it was rushed as well, and I feel that maybe it was rushed.
I agree.
There was a lot of going back on itself, and it was kind of like the original game where you were stuck in the mansion, so you were here and there and here and there and here and there, but most of the time the main threats were things you couldn't kill, just like they are in Silent Hill.
Yeah.
No matter how many bullets you put into some of these villains, unless
Maybe
it was...
just named the game wrong.
Unless you could actually kill them at their specific points, you couldn't get rid of them. And they would just chase you and hound you, and if you're a bad player, you just constantly get killed by them. A lot of people who didn't like it was because it was too frustrating.
Jazz put, sorry for my mistakes. My native language is Spanish, and I don't speak good English.
Hey, that's fine.
Hey, it's okay.
Yeah, we barely speak English as well.
I mean, look, I messed up.
Hold up.
Top. I put that Manx.
Manx, everybody.
Manx.
Manx you. How you Manxing? Now, what happened was that Resident Evil tried to do new things. And I'm a person who believes in the old statement that if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, but like didn't they do the same thing in 3 though with Nemesis, where he would pop up at random things, and the only time that you would kill him too.
Oh no! In that one, you could take him down, and you could actually get something for taking him down.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then,
All right.
You would just
All right, so for you,
and then he'd be gone for like
Nemesis is
15,
just a
20
mutated
minutes.
Zombie.
Yeah, and then he'd be
Right.
gone for
But
15, 20 minutes.
That's what it seems like Kyle's getting at, though, is that the fact that
well,
they should stick to what Resident Evil is.
Mario
Not
hasn't
make it-
changed at all in all the years, and it's been a
Exactly.
great seller. That's horrible
So
for me to
why
say. 'cause
change
it's,
something to what it's not?
because they wanted to try something new, and I don't think
Then
that.
change the name of the game.
Well, why would it matter if it's a Resident Evil or a Silent Hill? Like, because here's how I'm looking at
because
it.
it's
Because
They shouldn't have been
different
faulted.
genre.
They shouldn't have been faulted though for changing it to a first-person perspective. Because to me, there wasn't anything wrong with it. I mean, yeah, okay, so it doesn't appeal to you because there wasn't any zombies in it, or it doesn't seem like a Resident Evil game.
But that's what Resident Evil is zombies.
see, the thing is
the
that
mutation
it's kind of like when
zombies.
people went to go see the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory versus Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. The people who had grown up watching Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory
Right.
saw it was the same movie because it was based off the book and said, hey, this is what I should be expecting.
Mhm.
And they went in expecting this. But then they got this.
Right.
And all those people were disappointed, and that's why the movie failed so badly. Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil 6, and Resident Evil 5 were the same way. People went in expecting this, they got this.
Mhm.
And once again, it goes to the whole thought of, if they would have changed the name, if they would have given it some other name,
It would have been a good game.
and who knows, that could have started off a brand new franchise that they could have
Exactly.
jumped on. Because let's face facts, the people who make Resident Evil are a huge name.
Okay, so we got 2 more comments. I like some of the other characters you could play as, is from Jared.
Alright.
And Resident Evil is different since
Shinji Mikami. I do agree. He gave up on Capcom and walked
Yeah.
away, and ever since, basically it was the same thing that happened with Dungeons and Dragons. When Gary Gygax passed on, they decided to get rid of 3.5's rules and throw in 4. 4 failed miserably. So they went back to 3.5, but they just changed the name to 5. What they did is they tried something new, and it failed spectacularly. I'm talking spectacularly. Because once again, people expected A, people got B, people didn't want B, they wanted A. And that's just the issue that had with them. Now, don't get me wrong, as a game itself, Resident Evil 7 isn't a bad game. There's plenty of jump scares, there's plenty of times where I felt terrified because I didn't know where the hell I was going. I'm running out of ammunition, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't have any of that strange green goop to pour on my arm, even though I got impaled in the stomach, somehow that heals me. Never figured that part out.
It's canned stem cells. It's canned.
But basically what it's getting at is that 7, from what I'm gathering, since I didn't play it, 7 would have been a good game as something
Can I see that for a minute?
Yeah.
But
yeah, it would have been a
if
great
it was-
game if it was named something different.
because the fact is that Resident Evil is based off mutated zombies.
Right, it's
That's where it
the
is.
mutant's disease, yeah.
So you can't go from a
Yeah.
mutated zombie to a mist figure or something. You
But
know?
that's
So-
kind of what the Moss things were. You know, they were kind of mutated. They were like not zombies in any sense.
But
But they
then
were
it's
still.
not Resident Evil.
But see, you saw them perfectly fine. in
What's
one
1 through what
scene,
4?
Mhm.
And
Plus
then-
all of its
zombies.
outbursts, too. Don't forget about Codename Veronica and the
like I said,
Raccoon
Director's
Chronicles,
Cut
and
and
etc.
whatever.
Right.
So like all of it's based on zombies and zombie mutations.
Right. But
7, Resident Evil 7. We're not saying, again, I didn't play it,
Right.
but Kyle's not saying that it was a bad game in general.
It's
It's just a
bad
bad
for the
Resident
franchise.
Evil because it's not based on Resident Evil gaming.
Apparently,
Okay.
Jazz says, I remember the mistakes in Resident Evil 4 about my country. It was so funny. So apparently she comes from the same area that Resident Evil 4 was played in, or based on. So
Oh,
apparently
okay.
we have somebody here who can actually say that Resident Evil 4 had screw-ups because she actually lives in that area.
Nice.
Cool.
Thank you, Jack.
Loving that. Loving that.
So we're not disagreeing with you.
Resident Evil 7 was a good game.
We're just saying
If it was
should have
a
had
home game.
another.
If it was a
Name.
different name, it would have been good. But
Hey,
we're
if
basing
it
it
said
off
Silent
of the
Hill
background.
Bioshock,
Well, that's
I would have loved it.
There, exactly.
Yep.
But since we're basing it off of the fact that Resident Evil is about zombies and zombie mutations, it itself was a bad game.
I'm also
Because it's not going by what Resident Evil is.
I'm also an old school gamer,
if they
so
put
I
it
got
out
that
there
problem too.
as a different name,
Yeah, you see
it would
though,
have been good.
to me though, that's
You're
kind
going off of the gameplay.
Which
That's
is
what you're
fine.
going off of.
Well,
We're
no-
going off the name for the gameplay. The name is Resident Evil.
Mhm.
Why is it not based on zombies? What Resident Evil is based on?
because it was still talking about the mutation virus though.
It was a different virus. It was a brand new virus.
Exactly.
But once again,
It's all still Umbrella Corp.
well, actually,
They
they're not sure if it was Umbrella Corp.
They're not sure. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
They,
They believe-
Even if it was from Umbrella Corp,
Mhm.
if they would have called it something else, they could have made it into a thing.
But I understand
Yeah.
that because with the whole thing with the little girl, I honestly felt was like more or less like they took something from like Fear. You
Or
ever
say Silent Hill. Silent Hill.
well, Silent Hill. Well, you played mostly Silent Hill. I played Fear.
Well, I played Fear too.
Oh
You
yeah.
We've
For
done.
me, it's well. I'm just
we've
saying.
done Let's Plays. We're
my
not
ref-
talking Alma here.
My reference is Fear because I never played Silent Hill, so I only seen other Let's Plays of Silent
And
Hill.
basically, Silent Hill. The main idea is in the original game and a few others. You're out looking for your daughter or some little girl,
And then she's like some kind of like cult.
some
like,
kind of goddess,
God-
basically.
goddess, okay.
Yeah, that's what happens in the end. It's the same thing in the end. It turns out that this little girl, who turns out to be, spoiler alert, a giant old woman,
Hmm?
is just this monstrous creature that's just. Oh, spoiler alert! You went through the entire game fighting against these people, and suddenly the monster is this gigantic creature out of nowhere. And the only reason that this gigantic creature exists is because of question mark, question mark, question mark.
Mhm.
You know, they never explained why suddenly, you know, even the father's size, they explained it because he had digested the most cells because of his height and size. But then suddenly this woman, who's obviously smaller than the guy is, suddenly grows into a skyscraper. Now, once again,
big mom.
gameplay wise, it was pretty cool. I like the idea of it being first person. I really think that if they remake Resident Evil again, I would like to see it from a first point of view.
Yeah.
That could actually make it more terrifying. Ducking around a corner and suddenly there being a fucking zombie there, that would make me jump out of my skin and open
Or
fire.
turning around.
Sort of like, let's not talk about, or sort of like, the other day playing Gary's Mod against Necro and he was hiding on top of the friggin' fridge.
Mhm.
That's the kind of jump scare.
Oh, good job today, Jazz. Today she completed Silent Hill 1.
I don't want to play that game for a while. Don't worry, I don't want to play that game at all anymore. I don't even want to think about doing a walkthrough of that thing.
I wouldn't mind going through Resident Evil 1 again.
Oh, yeah, but which Resident Evil 1 do you want to do?
Whichever-
1 or remake number 47?
Whichever one is more fun.
They're all the same game, it's just a paint coat on top of them. It's like playing the Madden
Okay,
games.
well, whichever has the most features then and looks pretty.
Probably the newest.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll play whichever one doesn't have the female character that gives Kairu the boner.
That's
Whichever one.
all
Any
of
female
it.
character will do it. So.
Yeah, seriously, you're talking about a guy who...
All right. Well, then when I play it with Kairu, I'm gonna have to blindfold you too.
That won't stop him. He'd be like, boner sense tingling.
I will feel it through the digital.
I am one with the monitor now.
It'll poke you in the face.
Now, Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil 2,
All right,
Resident Evil 3.
so that we're clear on something though.
Right.
Resident Evil 7, we both agree that it was fun.
Right.
Okay.
As far as gameplay goes, yes, it was fun. As far as the idea of it being a Resident Evil game, though,
No.
it's like Fear 3. Fear 3 really had little to do with the storyline at
Right.
all.
And that's just and now that's just what I'm saying. I don't think that Resident Evil should be faulted for trying something new. But if at the end though, if the gameplay is fun, all right.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of people didn't give it the chance
Yeah.
because of what they saw.
I'm just saying.
When you take a game
Yeah.
from a well-known publisher, like say Final Fantasy, you know, like they did with 13, we can throw 13 under the bus if we want to a few times. And people come in expecting this to be a fun game with plenty of moments where there's lightheartedness, but there's also anger, there's also violence. And then you throw them into a game where it's just basically everyone has the emotional capacity of a freaking sponge.
Right.
Why do you think 13 failed so badly? Because it was a complete
Oh,
failure.
Lightning sucked.
It was a complete failure. And you know why? Because they tried something new. The newest one that came out where you were free roam running around and fighting, everyone said it was a huge success, but if you
The
actually
problem
look at the
was-
numbers,
Yeah.
it was a huge failure because they changed the script.
The difference was though, okay, they tried to make 13 more like a movie.
What hard
all right?
mode is the most complicated for you? Hard mode on Resident Evil 1 or Madhouse and Resident Evil 7? Hard mode in Resident Evil 1 because you really lost basically every piece of ammunition unless it was supposed to be in a specific spot. Enemies didn't have a chance to drop items, and if you didn't set a zombie on fire after you dropped it, they would get back up. Like, you could fill it full of lead and it didn't matter. Where in the Madhouse version of Resident Evil 7, yeah, there was still the parts where it was difficult, but you could still go and buy stuff.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that really made Resident Evil 7 not feel quite as dangerous. You could just walk over and just like, well, I'm going to need myself a first aid spray, and I got enough tokens. And the tokens are everywhere. They don't hide the tokens. The tokens are in the same places every playthrough.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, all right, so what's the difference? Well, the enemies take a lot more hits. Well, that's great, because most of the time you're trying to avoid even hitting the enemies. You're basically just running from them like you would in Silent Hill or any other survival horror game like Outbreak or something like that.
You only ever really need the knife.
Yeah.
The knife.
And you just need to run.
I've seen a whole playthrough like that. The guy just goes through, just only uses the knife.
My brother beat Resident Evil 2, well, except for the last boss. He beat the entire game with the knife just once.
Well, wasn't it that it takes like a certain amount of hits with the knife, like over like 1,000 or something?
For the last boss?
For the last boss.
No,
Yeah.
because you can't kill him without using the gun.
Oh, the gun. Oh,
yeah.
okay. Oh, all right.
Yeah, you can't kill him without the rocket launcher. Even if you drop with, I think it's like a 1,000 slash. I think it is.
I'm probably thinking about Resident Evil 3.
Could be.
Yeah.
Because that guy you can kill with a knife.
All right.
But the big deal is that when it comes down to it, Resident Evil held a legacy.
Mm-hmm.
It was a series of games where a virus mutated the dead, or people who were bitten, who then died and came back. Or animals even. I mean, they had freaking zombie elephants. I mean, that's pretty freaking terrifying as far as I'm concerned. I don't want a one-ton zombie running at me. And they made it into such a game where it's just like, what's going to happen next? And then suddenly, the virus went away and there were mutated plant life.
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, we'll try it again, and we'll put it in Africa this time, except that we can't have all the zombies look like Africans, because that would be offensive to them, although it offended the African nation that they didn't look like them. So they offended somebody anyway. And then they're like, well, that one didn't do good either. I got an idea. Let's bring back the zombies again, but this time, let's bring back a virus that makes them mutate like 7 or 8 times. That'll work great, and it failed horribly. Yep, okay, so, I got an idea. Let's give it a first-person's perspective, make the people basically worshipping a cult goddess, and make it so even if you have the most ammunition you could possibly have, you can't take down anything in the game without getting hit.
So basically, Resident Evil 5 went.
Yeah. Resident Evil 4 went like that too, except Resident Evil 4 was a little bit more fun.
Yeah, but at least Resident Evil 4 was fun in a campy sort of way.
Well, yeah, it's basically a giant fetch quest.
Put it this way, my brother, he's on here right now.
Is he?
Yeah, Meta Armagata, I think. Metal
Reese,
yeah.
Okay.
He's played that game like several times. He can tell you a lot more about it than I can.
Well, Resident Evil 4 was fun, and it was fun in a campy kind of way. I can't fault for that because it was fun.
Who doesn't love Leon and his one-liners?
That was what I think. That's what made me like him. But the thing is that they just decided to start flipping the switch after that. Let's see what happens if we do this. Let's see what happens if we do this. And then they found out that their best sellers. You know what their best sellers were? Everything that happened before Resident Evil 4. And that's why they're remaking all those games over and over and over again, because those are the things that sold. And it's like, well, let's see. We have this. This is what people like. And people have liked this for almost 20 years. So, let's do this! Need I bring up Mighty Hero 9? And what that, or Mighty Number 9 and what that did to the Mega Man franchise? Be the spiritual successor ended up fucking sucking horrible.
Yeah, but that wasn't by Mega Man's actual creator though. That was by like the
I put $100 into that game.
Yeah, don't feel bad. I put money into that game too.
What a freaking horrible thing.
Yeah.
That was a monstrosity.
Yeah, but I mean, as far as it goes, the biggest issue I had with the Resident Evil series was it got to a point where, like a lot of the video games nowadays, and this is once again old school gamers, so I apologize for what I'm about to say, but people focus too much on making it look pretty rather than making it playable. I don't care how bad the game is. You see some of the games I grew up playing, the original Final Fantasy, which was basically a bunch of blocky characters that did this.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I've been hearing a lot of good on a separate topic. I've been hearing a lot of good reviews about Sonic Mania, and they felt like that game should have got the wrong title. It should have been the Sonic 4.
Well, yeah.
I mean, have you seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it. It looks great.
It looks great.
Yeah. But once again, that's because they went back to
I think that's a
how they were supposed to look.
yeah. I think that's kind of the example though that you're talking about specifically, like what you want like Resident Evil to be, just kind of like updated, but like little things here and there.
Right. Well, that's,
Right.
that's what a lot of people feel.
Mhm.
And the problem is that, like I said, it seems that a lot of the time these newer games that are coming out seem to be based off of looking as pretty as possible.
Mhm.
I want you guys to walk into this game and I want you to feel that it's the most realistic game ever. And people are still playing World of Warcraft more than anything else in the world.
No.
And it still looks like garbage compared to the new shit that's coming out. You know why? Because they didn't change. They said, this is what the players like. Let's do it again!
Mhm.
And that's what they did. And how long has World of Warcraft been out? Like over a decade easily? Like 12 years or something like that? You know?
Something like that.
And it's just like, okay, well, if it hasn't changed in so long and people are still playing it, why should we change anything?
Exactly.
You know, it's horrible when people change. But the other thing is, and I'm about to side with you for a second, so just give me a shot here. I also understand that a lot of people don't want to play the same old thing every time. And I accept that. I accept that there are people that don't want to play. I mean, can't say that much because how many people play the same fucking Call of Duty just with a freaking different number at the end of it?
True.
How many people play another Medal of Honor with just another name at the end of it?
Kevin Spacey.
You know, but I think that companies should be willing to make jumps. I think companies should be willing to try new things. But I don't think they should try to, and this is a good phrase, ride another thing's coattails. Super Mario Kart would have been the same fucking amazing game if they had taken every Mario character out of it and put brand new characters in it. It would have been the same game. And you know what? People would have still played it, and people would have still loved it, and people still would have bought it.
Oh yeah.
People have already admitted it because that's just what it was. That's what people wanted. And what they could have done is then they could have made the next game be Mario Kart, where they switched out characters for Mario characters, and people would have loved that because they tried something new. Nintendo even said in an interview back then that they were really scared to bring out Mario Kart because it was completely different from any other Mario. And they were afraid to put their name on it, especially after the failure of the Mario Brothers movie. Now, have they made games that have failed spectacularly?
Oh,
yes.
without a doubt.
Yoshi's Cookie, Mario
They made
Tennis.
game systems that failed in general.
But they haven't learned, and now Nintendo's actually in a negative spiral. Nintendo's actually losing more money than they're making. Every year, every new system that comes out is another failure. And it's because they keep changing things instead of saying, well, if this works, let's stick with this. And if we're going to try something new, just make a new game. If people like it, then we can run off that game now.
Yeah, but like I think another game though that's an exception to that. Like at least that borrowed elements from other games and that became successful was you remember the Jack trilogy?
Jack
and Daxter?
Oh yeah.
Oh, Jack and Daxter, yeah.
Jack and Daxter. Okay, I feel like that when Jack 2 kind of took some elements from like GTA kind of and they improved the gameplay by adding in like giving them like an arsenal kind of. Like
I
have you ever played them?
So I played all the
You
Jack
played
and
all of them?
Daxters.
Yeah, so you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like, and then in 3 though, they expanded upon that a little bit so that it was a little bit more open.
Was that the one where you could build your own vehicles?
Yeah.
That's the one that failed.
Yeah,
That's actually the one that went under.
I don't think that's the one where you make your own vehicles.
Well, whichever one was the one that you made your own vehicles, it was one of the Jack and Daxters. You went around.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Jack 3, you can make your own vehicles?
It was either Jack 3 or if they made it, Jack 4.
No, it was no. You're talking about. Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. It was the Jack Racing thing.
Well, basically, yes.
Yeah, Jack 4. Yeah. Okay. That was the one that went under.
Yeah, because they said, well, they like the vehicle and they like the vehicles too. So how about they build their own and they go around, but they can't get really good parts until they beat a certain point, and then all the other guys get even better shit. And it's like, and you failed. What you could have done is you could have made Jack and Daxter Racing.
Yeah, I agree that they should have stopped at 3, and then they should have just left the Jack trilogy alone.
There are characters that disappear. What happened to Billy Corhan, Carlos Olivia, and the most important, Steve could be alive. Wesker wanted to revive Steve. Alexia was 15 years hidden with the virus. Well, yeah, and that is true. And that just jumping back to Jazz's conversation here, I do agree that some of those characters did disappear. In fact, my favorite villain disappeared. I can't remember. I think that was Billy Cohen, the nutcase who was like, type in this code. No, not that one. Not that one. He set up all the traps. I loved that guy.
Billy fucking Cohen.
And I wanted to end up fighting him, but no, he escapes. So I do agree that there are things that were missing from Resident Evil 7 that never got finished, and maybe they'll make a sequel.
Oh, yeah.
It might not work because of how it was dealt with, though. I mean, it came out, at the beginning, it came out with amazing scores, and then the gameplay happened. And a lot of people were like, and this is the exact reason why I'm trying to be this way, so like, duh, this ain't Resident Evil! And then they dumped it.
I get what you're saying, though. Like, because what you and Jesse are saying, though, like, you come to, like, when you play a Resident Evil game, you've come to expect certain things that come with a Resident Evil game.
That's why it has the title Resident Evil.
But I'm just saying, though, like, you know, when Resident Evil tried something new, at least if it was a success, like, at least some of the elements were a success. I'll say that. What?
They haven't been redone since.
Well, and that's what I'm saying, though. Like, isn't that why, though? Like, they tried to, when they came out with Ford, people liked the third-person perspective, so they kind of kept with that with the Resident Evil 5.
Right, and then they did it with Resident Evil 6, and etc., etc.
And with the whole time, I like the whole thing with the 6. It's just like, you ever see what the fuck was it? Worthless Gamer. With Conan
Oh,
O'Brien.
and Resident Evil 0. Oh, I'm sorry, I was thinking of the wrong game. Yeah, he could still be alive. He didn't die, so he could still be alive.
Yeah.
But but unless they literally go back to find him, which could be that could be an interesting game going back to Resident Evil 0. I don't know if they will.
Right. But so
it's all about the title, all right? When people look at it, for instance, when people went and played the first BioShock, Tamp, indoor corners, hard to see around, scary splicer monsters everywhere. When BioShock 2 came out, yes, you were playing as Big Daddy with a big drill, but it was the same gameplay. Still dark, still damp, still dripping, still scary. Then 3 came out, or AKA whatever, Infinity. You're in a beautiful, above the area, wide open space, no claustrophobia. All the characters look shining and pretty and cute. It was destroyed by critics and people everywhere. It was a good gameplay. Had great gameplay.
Had a great story, too.
But everyone said the same thing. If it weren't BioShock, it would have been great. But because it was BioShock, people came to expect A, and they got B. And unfortunately, that's how most people think. Like when Final Fantasy The Spirits Within came out. That horrible movie!
No, don't. Okay, yeah, we can agree that movie shouldn't have never been made.
What about the Mario Brothers movie? I expected A. I got B.
Right.
Mario Brothers sucked.
And then but you see, that's what I'm saying, like what they did with 13. It was like them trying to say, like, you know, listen, give us another chance. We could make a good Final Fantasy movie.
And it didn't work!
It didn't work.
Or it's like Fable 3.
Yeah, there's apparently a Fable 3. This is what they and that's the problem. See, a lot of gamers are jaded. Especially older gamers like myself and Jesse and Nick, who played these games, and we come to expect this from the game. If Earthworm Jim comes out, I expect Earthworm Jim to be a goofy game where you pull your head off and smack people, have a really powerful gun, and slide on rails. If the next one comes out and you're a Secret Service agent who has to be stealthy and can't fight back the entire game, guess what? I don't care how good the gameplay is, it's going to suck because the title was Earthworm Jim.
Yeah, but that... Yeah, but now you're arguing, like, elements that are, like, outside of what Earthworm Jim is.
Well, yeah, well, how about Resident Evil 7?
You're not going to... Resident Evil 7's not zombies, that's outside the elements.
That's the exact argument.
It doesn't matter if you're still fighting something or not.
Yeah, but
the fact is, the Resident Evil
that's not a good comparison, though.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't.
It's the same thing.
It's like, okay, because when you're playing an Earthworm Jim, okay, of course you're not going to... Like, alright, so they do the whole secret agent thing, alright?
So, like, okay, so what makes it an Earthworm Jim is that you have the actual comedy in it, okay?
And you're playing as Earthworm Jim.
Still had the elements that made it Resident Evil 7. So, to me, I don't think it's about just having zombies. Like, to me, as long as you have those...
And that's to you, though. And unfortunately, like I said, Resident Evil 7, as a game itself, was a good game. But when people came to see it, the masses, that huge, most people are sheep, you know the rule. There's few wolves and mostly sheep in this world. When those people came and they saw the words Resident Evil, their minds said zombies and guns and action and giant biological weapons that can only be killed one or two ways. And they expected third-person view.
I do agree with metal and jazz.
But when Resident Evil 7 came out, when Resident Evil 7 did come out, though, what they got was mostly a stealth game where your weapons only mattered at those specific points in the game. And the game was just a completely different take on Resident Evil. Yes, it was still a Resident Evil game, but what the people expected, once again, was A. That's what they expected.
And they got
And unfortunately, most people who... I mean, I worked at Blockbuster Video, so I know this more than anybody. Most people expecting A, go to play something like that, and if this isn't what they want, they return it.
Mm-hmm.
Instantly. They don't even want it. And when I worked at GameStop, it was the same way. People would buy a brand new game, and then within 2 hours, they would bring it back. Because it wasn't the game they were expecting. And that's just how people think. So when Resident Evil 7 did come out, it's the same thing with like Bioshock or Bioshock Infinite. It's the same thing with Silent Hill Homecoming. People were expecting this. And they had themselves all pumped up for it, and they were looking at the reviews, and they were looking at the trailers, and they were saying, okay, well, this is just the trailer demo, so that's actually going to be the actual game inside here. And what happened was, when they actually got to playing the game, they said to themselves, well, crap. This is nothing like I expected it to be. And most of those people, and like I said, I worked for both those companies, will return it instantly. They will not give it the chance. Because that's how most people think. Hell, I barely played through Resident Evil 7 at first, because I was like, this game is so stupid. But I forced myself to play through it so I could see what the ending was. And I'm happy that I did play through it. Would I put it in my top 10 list of favorite Resident Evil games? No, it's not even in the top 15. However, as far as a survival horror game goes, it was an amazing game. It had a lot of elements that came from the Outlast series, where fighting back really didn't do anything to you. Fighting back was like...
Yeah, if they would have called it Outlast, it might have actually sold better.
Billy is a badass, but a good character. Leon, remember me like Billy. But that's just what the thing is. It has nothing to do with personal opinions or anything like that, because, for instance, I'm a person who thinks that certain movies, like, I think Kung Pao Enter the Fist was an amazing movie. Most people would look at me and go, what the fuck is wrong with you?
I love that movie.
Because it was a stupid, joking martial arts movie where everyone went to see it and they're like, oh, I was expecting it to be this. And that is where it comes in. The reason Resident Evil 7 did so poorly is because of a person's normal thought pattern. There are very few people out there that want new things. Most people want to be stagnant. It's the truth. And like I said, Resident Evil 7, gameplay-wise, great game. Now, once again, though, if they had taken the title, just like Final Fantasy The Spirits Within, or Bioshock Infinite, if they had changed the title, if they had given it its own brand new title, I guarantee you, blank, whatever it would be a top seller. But unfortunately, people went into it expecting A, and they got B.
Right, and I think that's kind of ridiculous.
Well, yes, I do too. And that's the problem with us old school gamers, because I grew up on Atari and Nintendo, you know, where games were supposed to be difficult enough that you didn't bring them back immediately, and that games were very thought provoking. You had to figure crap out, and the games nowadays are here. Hold my hand. Let me walk you through it. Isn't it all pretty? Isn't it pretty everywhere? Isn't the music pretty? And welcome to the end of the game. And, you know, once again, you know, Resident Evil 1, it takes a good, 4 or 5 hours to beat. You can beat Resident Evil 7 in under 2 hours.
Yeah.
Hands down. The game was meant to be pretty, but that's most games nowadays. But people who did play it just said to themselves, and the other thing you got to worry about is the curse of the YouTubers. We are a monster against the game community.
Yeah.
We are beasts. We feed on them. Because what happens is a lot of people are crappy gamers. A lot of people don't want to play Silent Hill. A lot of people don't want to play Fear. A lot of people don't want to play Resident Evil. But they'll watch you play it. They don't want to go out and buy the game until they know their favorite YouTuber liked that game. And if their favorite YouTuber said, it was okay, guess what they'd say? Ain't worth buying.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of those people, like, I sat through and I watched Jack's Let's Play Resident Evil 7 after I beat it.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you the truth, if I had just watched Jack play it all the way through, I would have been satisfied. I wouldn't have spent the money on it.
Mm-hmm.
The curse of the YouTubers.
Well,
And that's what's happening. You see, originally it was all about commercials and flashy posters.
I actually felt the same way when I was watching my brother play the Jack trilogy because I completely passed it up because I was like, I'm satisfied with Crash. Like, I'm not really missing much.
Dynasty Warriors and my
Dynasty.
brother. I love to watch my brother play Dynasty Warrior. I never tried it.
That is always one of my big guilty pleasures. It's just I'll play any Warriors game.
All right, well
Like-
then, like I said, I never played one because I watched my brother just destroy them. I was like, this is awesome. This is like watching an anime. Ethan, please, not come back to Resident Evil. Let's see here. But there are a memo in Resident Evil 5 that speaks about Ethan. Do you remember it? Ethan is a good person. He isn't a good person. He worked for Umbrella. Ethan, please, do not come back to Resident Evil.
Yeah, fuck you, Ethan.
Yeah, fucking, I'll bash your ass in with a club. You come back. Don't worry, I'll pick you up. But so when it comes down to it, I mean, like, if I were to pick my favorite Resident Evil game, I would probably say it was Nemesis or Veronica. I just liked the gameplay of them, and they were Resident Evil-like games. Like I said, old school gamer. Forgive me, I'm an old school gamer. Most of my top 10 list involves games like Earthbound and Donkey Kong Country and Diddy Kong Racing. Those are my games. Those are what I grew up on. But the newer games nowadays are just things like, I just look at them and go, why are you so pretty? Why can't we get to the part where it's fun? Why do I have to spend 30 minutes doing tutorials? Why is it every time I play a Pokemon game, I have to go through the same freaking tutorials? Etc. And that's just what it is.
I'll make sure I'm on
I'm
camera,
jaded.
you're
I
on
am.
witnesses.
In 7, though, I felt that they actually, that's one of the few things that they actually did right. Because they didn't do a separate thing where it's just
4
like,
people
here's a
in the
tutorial.
room.
17 shots. No witnesses.
Like,
I don't see anything.
they didn't do a huge thing where it's just like,
Say
hey,
you're
we're
my
a huge
cousin.
tutorial.
I'm ex-military too. I didn't see
They actually taught you, through the gameplay. Like,
No, baby got-
do you remember the section with, like, the farmer?
That's not mine,
when you're
that's Rob.
first facing off against the farmer. All right.
No, he's not
That-
in no more.
like, what did you get to the part where he
Not
teaches you
anymore.
how to use the first aid thing? That
Yeah.
part? Yeah, I felt that they'd done stuff like that incredibly well too. Like it wasn't like a huge thing where it's just like, here's how you use the first aid thing, and then this is how you block, and then this is how you do X and Y.
Right, and they didn't hold your hand that much, and that was fun. But then you go through the rest of the game, realizing that basically you're just saving up ammunition for boss fights.
Yeah.
No
You're
matter how many,
waiting for
no
big
matter how many of
baddies.
those monsters you kill, they just come back.
Mm-hmm.
There's an endless swarm of them, no matter where you are. If you're in an area where there are enemies, even if you kill them all, they just come back. The only reason to kill them is to get the tokens.
Yeah.
That's it. And then you can go buy new stuff to keep yourself alive. And that's just what it comes down to. It comes down to the game being no ammunition wasted until you get to a boss
I
fight.
have
Every
three
boss
axes.
having what I like to call the brightly colored
That one's
weakness
in my
flaw of bosses.
Yeah,
where you,
she did have the fuck me light.
yeah. Every boss that you fight has the go ahead and get me light.
If it wasn't obvious, from when you first see it.
Oh, there's
14
more in
plus.
my room.
We're doing it for a charity event, dude. You didn't know about that? Yeah, we're gonna rent out the local Y for a night. We're gonna get as many Nerf guns as we can. We're just gonna gun each other down like action hero style. If you get shot, you're like, and then at the end of the night, we're gonna collect everything. We're gonna give it to Toys and Hut for Dots. Yeah, it's a charity event we're gonna do. We just have to get more guns and more people. Scare me all you want. It's gonna be fun.
I'm gonna bring a paintball gun.
No. There
Here you
might
go,
be
little Timmy.
kids there.
Paintball gun.
We'll be
What?
there. We'll be there this Sunday, and we just won't be there. Well, folks,
I have more vacation time. I can take off the watches.
in Spanish version, Ethan is always Joder. I think it's English is a very bored character. Yeah, you're about right. That's basically him. It's just this and that. But folks, our complaints about Resident Evil, mainly Resident Evil 7, unfortunately, away. Basically, Resident Evil was a great series, and it can come back and be a great series again, especially since they seem to enjoy recreating the first one, X number of times. But maybe it should stop. Maybe Resident Evil should go down, and maybe a new title should come up in its place. Who knows? But until next time, folks, I'm Kaiju K.
I'm Necro Nick.
I'm Resident Evil Bond.
7.
The best one.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, good thing this camera's gonna go off real quick. I gotta talk to him about something.
Yeah. I gotta talk to him about something too.
That's an innuendo. He's going to use the other thing.
I gotta talk to him about something too.
Wow.
I think you're.
It's just everybody about something.
Listen, I'm just letting you know right now. The three of you ain't getting out alive either.
Actually, I think I'm the
Challenge
I
accepted!
think I'm gonna be the only one getting out alive.
What are you talking about? I still didn't see anything. Or hear anything. In fact, I don't even...
Vibrator?
We'll see you next time, folks. Peace out,
Later.
everybody, and thank
Have a
you
good
all for
night,
coming.
everybody.